We are live.
Live.
This week's episode of Here's What I Don't Get podcast is brought to you in part by the Itty Bitty Titty Committee. The Itty Bitty Titty Committee supporting people not as great as Dolly Parton for generations. Visit ittybittytittycommittee.com and see how you can help support the small breastises. Welcome back to Here's What I Don't Get, from north to south, east to west, the only intercontinental podcast to tackle all of life's toughest issues and the longest consecutively running podcast on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network. I am your host, Tab Burton, and join me from the great red state of North Carolina, it's Uncle Buck!
Yeah!
Welcome back, buddy.
Man, it's good to be here. Another one of those carrier landing episodes for me.
Yeah.
Most of them are at this point, I think.
Yeah. I've got my Diet Coke Tall Boy.
I've got my Summit Cola from Aldi because I'm poor.
Yeah. I bought this at a gas station today. I saw they had these like 16-ounce cans, and I was like, that's the perfect size for a soda.
It is.
20 ounces is too much. 12 ounces is too little. 16 ounces, that's the perfect size for a soda.
Especially in a can, because cans are great because they can initially be colder, and they at least taste colder, but they lose their coldness, I think, more quickly.
Yeah.
And so if you have like 20 ounces in a can, it gets warm too quickly. And you don't get to enjoy the crispness and the freshness and that little burn in the throat from the yeah.
Well, see, the thing I don't like, 20-ounce bottles, right? Because they have that resealable lid, you're like, oh, well, I can finish this at any time. Whereas a can is like, I got to get through this fucking thing. I have nowhere to put it.
It's a commitment.
Yeah, and so you end up like putting the lid on your 20-ounce bottle, and you come back to an hour later, and it's warm, but you paid $1.50 for it or whatever, and so you just choke down the last few ounces of worthless sludge.
And then if you think you're going to be smart and like put it in the fridge to keep it cold, but then you come back and it's
totally flat. Yeah.
Now I have a CO2 rig and a little carbonator cap, so I can fix that. We found like a 2-liter in the back of our fridge that had been flat for like a month. And I was like, watch this, Aunt Buck. And I put the carbonator thing on there and took it downstairs and into the garage where my CO2 thing is. And so in case it leaks, it doesn't kill us all in our sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back up there and took the cap off. It was like a champagne bottle. It was amazing. She was like, wow, this tastes just like it did the day we got it. And I was like, that's right. I know things. I'm good at stuff.
There has to be a better way.
Yeah. And also I just like carbonated water. So, but it's hard to, I do.
That's weird.
So remember that restaurant that I took you to, the hot dog place?
Yeah.
When I was working there as a teenager, and if you work in the restaurant business, you know this, there's like a rack somewhere in the back of like these bags of soda syrup, and then a CO2 tank, and then there's like a little auger that mixes it inside the machine. It's a whole deal. And sometimes the CO2 tank would run out. I'm sorry, the not the CO2 tank, the syrup would run out.
Yeah.
And so you'd get something and we had this cherry drink that was very popular with the 13s community. And
is it cheer wine? Is that what you're talking
about?
Oh,
no,
okay.
We do have cheer wine, or we got it. But this was like I think the brand was Patio Cherry, and it was popular among certain portions of the population. And I actually invented Code Red because I would take Mountain Dew and just a little shot of that Patio Cherry, and it was Code Red like 10 years before it came out. So I invented that. They owe me a lot of money at this point.
You sound like Howard Stern. Yeah, Robin, I Cherry Code Red, Mountain Dew Code Red. Yeah, I invented that. I did. They sent one of their spies. They were spying on me at 16 because they knew. So anyway, but the cherry, even when the syrup ran out, the stuff would still come out of the fountain red, and so people wouldn't know, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, your cherry soda tastes terrible," and I'd get a cup full of it and go, "Oh yeah, we need to change the thing." And after a while, I developed a taste for it. Just the carbonated water. So that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, look who you're talking to, right? Yeah. But there's no calories to it.
That's a fair point. I've been taking this glass blowing class for the last few weeks since basically the beginning of January.
And I kind of get down on myself. Well, I don't really get down on myself. Sometimes I get frustrated with my work because I
Not
feel like
immediately perfect.
I'm not accomplishing exactly what I set out to. But last week, we have this visiting artist coming,
Hmm.
and so he came into the shop on Thursday. Thursday is my shop day. I have a early slot and then classes in the evening, and so there's this span in between where there's other people working, and he came in to work during that slot, and I started talking to him, and we're chatting about life and blowing glass and how much I enjoy this or that,
Yeah.
and so then he left, and I got home that night, and I started googling this guy, and I got to kind of help with what they were working on. They were pulling cane, which are long, thin rods of glass that have a color in them, so that he could eventually use them for another project. And so
Sure.
I was vaguely helping them with that. So then I got home and I was like, I need to Google this guy to find out what he's done. Pretty much every museum in the country that has a glass exhibit has a piece in his, including the Smithsonian and the White House. This guy is like a big deal in the American studio glass movement from the 80s, like responsible for bringing the art of glass blowing to the United States. And I was like, holy shit.
I touched the face of God.
This guy, no, it was not that. It was that this guy was talking to me like we were on the same level. Like just
Oh
two
yeah.
he was such a professional nice
You're
guy.
talking shop. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what an amazingly down to earth normal person that to just and to take an interest in what someone who's been doing it for all of like a month has like what I thought. And so I was just astounded. It was like one of the coolest things in my life. They say don't meet your heroes, and obviously this guy's not like my hero by any stretch of the
He
imagination.
wasn't.
He wasn't, but because he was so like cool and down to earth, it's like, man, I hope everyone that I meet is like this in this kind of this field.
Oh boy, are you set up for disappointment?
Yeah, probably so. It's like I hate when you meet someone when you have one of those experiences that's right out the gate so great, and then like nothing else will ever kind of measure up to how great it was.
You're like
So I
chasing the dragon.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. And then I was kind of like, I got to help this guy kind of start making his stuff, and he's going to be back more times in that window that I don't have anything to do, and I'm like, well, I'm just
Sucking his
hanging out
dick. Yeah.
and I'm gonna watch anything and everything that happens. Because my partner in the early slot, she says, "Oh, I might hang out and see what they are doing," and then she just fucked off and left and disappeared, and I'm the only person there, and I was like, "Well,
Chicks.
I got this opportunity, and none of you other people did, and not because I'm special, but just because I was willing to be here." So that was pretty
Just
cool.
doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, just standing, just like being standing and being present and listening, keeping your eyes open.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably everyone else you're going to meet in that field is going to be like me, who's just a gigantic asshole who's going to like dunk on you at every moment and belittle you for their own.
They're gonna be like, that's your cup. Look at how like bulbous the bottom is. You suck. And
That's
I'm
a
just gonna feel
beaker.
sad.
Like if you throw that on the ground, a door might appear. I mean, why'd you make that?
Anyway, well, do you
Get
have
good,
anything more?
noob.
Yeah, do you have anything more you want to catch? People may feel like we're rushing through this, but Buck's time is a lot more limited than the other hosts, so I try and like expedite the process of the
Yeah,
show.
I'm already over budget. No, I think I'm good for tonight. I will say this. This is not an issue that I'm bringing in. This is just something that I'm very relieved, and that is that basketball is over. And I don't mean
Over your
NBA.
kids.
Yeah, I mean my kids' basketball season is over. Thank God. I don't get me wrong. I I cherish my children, and I want their lives to be enriched. But God, we're never doing that again. We paid an exorbitant amount of money for jerseys that we didn't get to keep every
What?
Monday and Friday. Oh yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah, it really is. Every Monday and Friday was 2 hours of take because we have two kids and they both did basketball. So, uh, and we paid that exorbitant amount for both of them, which is money that we didn't have at the time. And then each one of them has practice for an hour, and they're not concurrent; they're consecutive. So, and the school they're at doesn't at this time have its own gymnasium. So the gymnasium they're borrowing from a school that is shut down and defunct is about 5 minutes from the house, but there's no one using the gym for most time. So that means in the wintertime it stays
Ice cold.
Ice cold. So it would be like going to watch hockey, except it's your kids and it's not hockey. It's miserably cold. All the parents are in there. The lights. Let me put this in perspective. The decorations for the school that was there and their teams. I think the most recent exposition they must have had there, the most recent year they were active was 1995. So, because they're still like
almost 30 years of just nothing.
So the ceiling is falling. It looks like this. It looks like a basketball court from Fallout 4.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it like the ceiling is falling in. The lights, the lights sound like a swarm of bees, just and it's very very gloomy and cold. And there's refuse everywhere, and the walls are also shabby.
And you
the
keep
floor
finding
still,
bottle caps, but they're not actually worth anything.
yeah. And then like sometimes raiders come in and like threaten your community. And I keep trying to build this generator, but my science rating isn't high enough yet. So,
And
but
then you
anyway,
got trapped in a dungeon and you'll never escape.
yeah, I started over. I did it. I tried to play Red Dead Redemption, which was as we mentioned, and I was like, you know what? But this pissed me off. So I went back to start my game over in Fallout 4, and I had removed it from my Xbox to make space for Red Dead Redemption. And then when I reinstalled it, none of the
Mods.
all of the DLCs that I had purchased, or I guess I had bought a package, and only one of them reinstalled, and the other ones were like, "Oh, we don't have that one in this package anymore. You're just out of luck." So then I had to go and buy all of the DLCs in one, and it was only like $12, but for me that's a lot of money right now. So I was like, I had to tell Aunt Buck, I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about spending another $12 on a video game. What do you think about that?" And she was like, "What'd you say?" Like, I was thinking about spending $12 on a video game. It's like, stop mumbling and just tell me. I'm thinking about spending $12 on a video game. She's like, it's just $12. I was like, yeah, but it's a pride thing for me because I'm poor and I don't want to spend money on me, because then I feel like I'll let anyone else spend money on whatever. But as soon as I like spend 10 cents on me, I feel like I'm the problem.
Yeah.
And realistically, I probably am.
That'll tie into my issue really nicely.
Good.
Speaking of Fallout 4, though, before we move on, I went back to the old drug.
Uh-oh.
So I downloaded, I popped open my Switch for something. Oh, for GoldenEye. Remember GoldenEye? They released it for Switch.
Yeah, and
did you
it's
try and
only
play
okay?
that?
No, because I couldn't afford it.
Oh, the control. So I activated Nintendo Switch Online like last year, and I have no plans to renew it. And so I was like, well, I'll check it out while I still have it for another couple months.
Yeah, why not?
And I tried to play GoldenEye, and the controls are completely broken. And
I heard that.
It's just it's completely unplayable. It's so I was like, well, I can't fucking do that. So then I was like, maybe I'll play some Mario Kart again, but I'm over the interest of playing that again. Yeah. And so then I opened up the old mistress Skyrim. Yep. I had 170 plus hours on that playthrough on the Switch. And then I was like, oh, what is this fishing thing that's new in this anniversary update? And I spent I got up to 197 hours. So I guess I spent like 27 hours fishing in Skyrim. And then I discovered that there's all this other anniversary update content that you're supposed to discover through a normal playthrough, but I've completed everything in that Switch version of the game. And so I was like, well, only one thing to do. And I started
diving through all the new stuff.
Yeah. But I am now like 15 or something hours in, and I have not even touched the main quest line. I got out of Helgen, and I was like, I'm going to go straight for the Steedstone and then work my way around the top of the map to the Dawnguard base.
Playing by your own rules.
Yeah, so there are no dragons, and I have none of the shout powers, which is very different. I've never played the game without just having Fire Breath or Fusro Da almost constantly equipped, so I'd like be in a battle with someone, and they'd be fucking me up, and I'd just be like, why don't you back off for a minute? Anyway. Well, you ready to get back into some issues?
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do yours.
No, let's do yours.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you have to go first.
Okay, that's fine.
That's the format.
All right. So a caveat. I don't know precisely how I want to phrase this, so I'm going to do it on the fly, and I'm going to get it wrong. So here's what I don't get.
mandatory, overblown, cutesy bullshit work meetings. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough.
Um, and I know I talk about work issues a lot, but work is, I spend a lot of my time there. And so, uh, we have, listen, there was a time for a couple of months there where I had to be cautious about what I said about work because one of my, higher ups approached me. Was like, "Hey, don't you have a podcast?" I was like,
No.
"Who's asking?" They're like, "Yeah. That's where the whole Uncle Buck thing came from on your hard hat, right?" Who's asking? Well, what's the name of your podcast? Who's asking? I'm asking. Who is like, one step below a plant manager. I'm like, okay, it's called Here's What I Don't Give. Please don't listen to it because I talk about work on there. And so I had to now that I was on their radar and I knew that I was on their radar, I had to kind of like start being cautious. But then that person quit. So a lot of our supervisors quit, which is alarming, and I'm kind of curious what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and start talking trash about work again. So there's a certain woman at work who has the power and authority to call meetings and to hold meetings, and they're mandatory. It's like, oh, we have to listen to this person.
Yeah.
And she and I have had a pretty good history of getting along until we don't. And there's been some times where I've done some things on purpose that probably didn't sit too well with her. And, her doing her job doesn't sit well with me. So she pulls us into a mandatory meeting, and it's the kind that is going to happen. Like there's safety meetings and quality meetings and blah, 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 blah. She pulls us in for like a quality training. And she's like, we're going to do things a little bit different today. And I was like, I have a truck coming in 30 minutes. So let's not get too wild about this. These trainings take a good half hour. Let's just get it done with and maybe try the cutesy thing when I don't have stuff immediately necessary to do. It's like, no, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So she then proceeds to lead us into this game that is literally Jeopardy with topics about work. And I was like, and with a full range, the full Jeopardy board of questions. And she divided us into teams, and we had to yeah. And then which if I didn't have a time constraint or a job to do before I could go home, and people would be angry with me for not being there when I was supposed to be there and would not understand that I was trapped in an unnecessarily long cutesy bullshit meeting. So,
yeah, that's the thing is that meetings. So for people that work at a desk, right, all the time, meetings escape. They escape from their hell of being alone and doing nothing. Whereas people who have productivity to do and know that if they don't complete the productivity, meetings are just time ticking away that they can't get back.
Well, so I think it's more like this. Well, when I was running the palletizer and I was on a forklift, let the meeting last forever. I'm not palletizing. I'm not out there being actively mauled by a bear at any given moment. So that was one thing. But I'm now in an area temporarily where if I'm productive enough and I plan well and I execute well, I can affect the outcome of my day significantly. And you put me in a situation where I can affect change around me in a way that benefits me, I'm going to perform pretty well. It turns out I'm actually a very productive person and very proactive, and I do things in an orderly manner, and I come up with ways to make things work more efficiently. And it's a good feeling to be like, oh, I make a difference now, and my productivity directly affects some sort of outcome for me. Maybe not necessarily my paycheck, but I can get the job done and know that I did this great. And it's not like I'm going to come in tomorrow and it never happened. This stuff that I get done today, it carries over. So when I was like, oh, we're going to be in here and the truck driver that's coming for this product is going to sit there for however long this takes, and he's going to be mad. And then that's going to throw him behind because he has to go make this delivery, then come back to get the next product. And if the next product's not...
Adolf Hitler was denied entry to art school. One thing led to another, and the
next
United
thing
States of America dropped 2 atomic bombs in the sovereign nation of Japan.
It's a butterfly effect. And
Yeah.
the butterfly was the one tattooed on her arm while she told us that we had to answer all of the Jeopardy questions before we could then begin the actual training.
No, that's not how Jeopardy works. They
So
go to commercial after 10 minutes.
yeah, well, this is they're not that creative. If they had the our ad agency that we get our ads from, maybe we could have a commercial that
Yeah.
would pay us. But no, so there's like an hour and a half. And I'm like, "Hey, guys, like you know me. I will be polite to a point.
Yeah.
Then beyond that point, like the hat and the shades come out and I'm like, "Hey, we need to like fucking knock this off. I've got work to do." And I'll start out by saying like, "Hey, I got a guy waiting. Can we wrap this up?" And then like 5 minutes later, I'm going to say it a little less professionally. And then 5 minutes after that, I'm going to say it maybe at a slightly different timbre, uh, and maybe a little more slurs. And then and then this what do you call this?
45 minutes later, you get fired.
45 minutes later, drunk, without having had a drop of alcohol, someone has been assaulted or molested in some way that wasn't even in the room. It's just this magically these terrible things happen because I was not placated. So then this meeting took forever. And then they're like, "Oh, hey, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? We've decided in an
Double
attempt."
Jeopardy.
my team won, by the way. My team
Nice.
won because of me and one other person. But because I would answer the questions, get us done with.
Yeah.
So then they're like, "Hey, so we've been having these opportunities for improvement around the plant." Is I think the way they tend to colloquialize it, euphemize it, whatever. So they're like, "Hey, we're going to have these pit team meetings, and we're maybe going to have like one every 2 weeks, and everybody will get to attend one." Well, my position kind of puts me to where I touch every department because I don't have one specific place. I'll like be here for a while, and then I'll be here for a while, and then I'll be back and
Yeah.
forth. So guess who has to attend all of the pit team meetings?
Oh, God. Oh, that
And so
sounds awful.
And so the pit team meetings, you'd think, okay, so we go in. I think in the last time I was on the show, I called him Brian, the guy who kept accusing me of things without accusing me.
Yeah.
So that guy, he's leading them, and he's like, "So here's what we're gonna do. We got this list of things. We're gonna let you. First off, we're gonna let you give us topics that you want to talk about. You're gonna talk about topics, and then we're gonna come up with ideas, and you're gonna come up with the ideas of how we're gonna make things. The things we're gonna try. We're gonna make things better. We're gonna make things work." And so that, but then you would tell them like, "Well, here's the problem that we've had for the past 15 years, and every time you've asked us this problem, asked us what problems we have, we've said, hey, this is a problem," and then you promptly say, "Cool, we'll get right on that," and then we don't. Either we have another meeting a year later where we tell you the same thing. It's like a quaint little dance that we do that no one actually accomplishes anything. It's this ceremony,
Yeah.
It's this ceremony that we go
We
through.
have to tick the box of pretending that we care what you peons think.
And like it's quaint and it's pleasant. We have accepted that nothing's going to change. We're dour and nihilistic, and we have a terrible attitude about our employment and where we work. But we've accepted it, and we've kind of made peace with it. And so, like once a year, we go and we have daylight donuts, and we talk about things, and nothing changes. But this year's like, "Oh no, we're gonna change it. We're gonna change it. Look, we're gonna come up with the ideas, and we're gonna stick to it because that's how you make progress around here." Like, okay, sure. Here's the problem. He goes, "Okay, so here's so what's your solution? What can we do about it?" Well, if we did this, this, and this, that would fix the problem. Okay, so here's why that's not gonna work. Like, I mean, at least he's telling us no.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
so you got to come up.
yeah.
Like, we understand and we would love to do that, but for this reason, we can't. So come up with another idea. I was like, how about we document because it turned into a money issue. So corporate needed to see how much this was a problem. Because I said, if you want to show corporate that they need to spend the money, how about we just hang a clipboard and a marker? And like every time the problem comes up, we go, takes 2 seconds. And then at the end of 2 weeks, whenever we come back for this meeting, I'll say, this problem happened 57 times in one day, which it did. It absolutely fucking did, but shocked me all to pieces. It shouldn't have, but it did. So,
They're like, okay, so we're going to send that information to corporate, and we'll get back to you. But this meeting was about 15 topics long, and about, I don't know, way more time in each topic than was really necessary. And this is going to happen now every 2 weeks, and there's
Until
at
you're dead.
least, well, and it's every 2 weeks, and I'm attached to multiple areas. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to have to attend probably 7 meetings.
Oh.
Like, I came to work today and I was like, oh, they have, like, we did our pit team meeting last week. What's this? Oh, I have to attend a pit team meeting for this place and for this place. Oh, oh, this is going to be terrible. I just kind of want to die. So I'm actively going to start looking for other employment that pays what I pay, which I'm never going to find because they pay me way more than I should make for train monkey work.
The thing about the cutesy shit in meetings like the Jeopardy, so my employer when I moved back to Tulsa, I was hired as the head electrician. We had a head carpenter, we had a head audio, and then we had 2 other multifunction technicians that didn't handle the main stage, right? So we get to this meeting. It's June, I think. We had monthly staff meetings on like the 3rd Wednesday of the month or whatever the week was, whatever recurring day. And so the June meeting, we finished the last season, and we're about to, like, we're kind of in this mid-summer season. We'll do a couple little productions, but then, the main season, we're going to start having, 2022, 2023, 2024 season shows starting in August, September, right? And so they have everyone go around the table. And this is big. There's like 30, 35 people in this meeting, right? Everyone go around the table and tell us what show you're excited about next season.
No.
And we go, and all the office workers, the people that don't work in theater, they're like, oh, I'm really looking forward to Hamilton, or I'm really looking forward to this opera, or I'm really looking forward to this Book of Mormon, or I'm really looking forward to Pretty Woman coming to town. And then we get over to the head sound, and the head sound is more curmudgeonly than I am. But he's been there for a very, very long time, and he knows he's the best sound guy in Oklahoma. He might be the best sound guy in the Southwest region. We're talking about like apex of his field. He's nationally known, having never traveled anywhere in the country as a professional sound engineer, because he's on all of the like forums for sound, and he's helping troubleshoot shit in venues that aren't his all across America, right? So it comes around to him, and he says what all of us theater technicians are thinking, which is, I'm really not looking forward to any shows coming up. The things I look forward to aren't here. I don't really care about the show. I just do the work.
I'm here for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And the craft itself.
The craft is, and so that upset the very, very face-needing asshole CEO that we had. And so he had our boss try and find a way to fire him. And within about a week and a half, this head sound was given his walking papers. They walked into the office, they brought him into another room, and they said, here are all of these things, you need to leave. So he's escorted out of the building, and one of the lower theater technicians who had been there for an even longer amount of time, who knew things, immediately he sees what's happening in the office, because we had one shared office, the 5 of us. He gets up and walks out. He waits until he sees the sound guy driving away, pops open his phone, calls him, and goes, sound guy, you need to call a labor lawyer right now, and you need to tell what happened. That what they have done is illegal. You need to handle it, to get this fixed. So he does. He follows this guy's advice, calls a labor lawyer. It's taken to arbitration. Arbitration finds in favor of the employee. He's reinstated. He immediately hands in his resignation and tells them to fuck themselves.
Yeah. But at that point, like, you have to.
Yeah,
at that point, you have to.
I wouldn't have. I would have shown up every fucking day, and I would have sat in my boss's office and done nothing. And just been like, hey, remember that time you tried to get me fired last week? Yeah. Man, that shit was crazy. And so, but so the point of that being, not participating in the cutesy shit almost cost this man his career,
Well,
which is ridiculous. And the thing is, they didn't learn from that. Every fucking meeting, it was like, "Oh, what's your favorite dish for Thanksgiving? Oh, where are you going to travel for your summer vacation?" It was always some stupid shit. Go around the table and tell. It's like the fucking now we have to do it every meeting. It's like, it, and everyone's like, "Oh, tell us your preferred pronouns and what you're doing on this production." It's like, fuck me. Look at this. What pronouns do you think I use? Figure it out.
Yeah, they're doing that to try and there's this thing that bothers me. This top-down attempt at like fostering community or teamship or something. And teamship comes from like people who work together, who spent time elbow to elbow and have
struggle.
built and built mutual respect because of mutual effort.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I know that like this guy is worth his salt because when we had XYZ problem last time, he came up with a great solution. He put in the effort. He was a professional. He did his job. He went above and beyond if necessary. And like, I know that in a pinch, this guy is going to take care of me. That's a good guy.
Yeah.
Not, I know that Sally likes green bean casserole. Therefore, green bean casserole is disgusting, and I hope she dies.
Yeah, and there'll always be this divide between like office workers and people that actually create work or create a product. And I don't think that the people up there in the meetings, I don't think that they understand. And so I learned really quickly in that job that you have to play politics with those fucking people up there in the office because they're not people like you and me. They don't understand that I work in theater. I've worked in theater my entire life. I mean, my entire professional career has been theater. I hate theater. I don't like going to concerts. I don't like seeing plays. I hate musicals. I don't really care for opera. I do kind of like ballet. Like, I hate theater. And when I tell people that I hate theater, they're like, well, why do you work in it? Because I enjoy the problem solving. I couldn't go into an office job and have them like throw me random things and go, how are we going to do this? We have this 4x8 platform that's in the deck. How are we going to pick that up? There's 100 ways to do it, and I get to pick one. That's what I enjoy. I don't really give a shit.
All the details.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit about what they get up on stage and dance around and do. I care about all of the stuff that happens prior to that to make that possible.
I totally get that.
If I could, I would just do all of that and never do a show. It would just be like, here's $100,000 a year. Just kind of fiddle around and fix shit. We'll mail you a problem once a month, and you mail us back your solution, and we'll just send you a check. That'd be the perfect job. Never talk to anybody, but that's not an option.
No, you can't be Tony Stark in a cave with a box of scraps. You actually have to define what you're doing. I get it. I will say that it's not always that the people starting and holding meetings are not the same as you on the floor. There are some people that are in our management that I respect a lot, enough that I stopped talking trash about work on the show for a brief time. But then there are some people who have proven through their track record that they might be a nice person to sit and have a conversation with, but they're terrible at their job.
Yeah.
And they have put your company at risk in ways that you can't discuss on a podcast without losing your job. And that you have maybe once or twice in the past couple of months been like, maybe I'm being paranoid, or maybe I need to start looking for another job because I'm starting to see writing on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
When there's one person who has consistently over the past couple of years, like this has propped up maybe 4 or 5 times where something major has happened because they dropped the ball and they weren't doing their job. They were like penny wise and pound foolish, as they say. And you're like, maybe you're less likely to be charitable when they have a cutesy meeting and you're like, maybe you should just let me get back to my job before something else happens. And I'm not saying that as a threat. I'm saying like before you screw something else up, just, I get it. We have to have this meeting for this reason. We have to check this box. Maybe just check the box so that I can get back to doing my job.
Yeah.
Because I have managed to prevent you from thinking that I hate you. But like that's only going like and at first I didn't, but that's only going to last so long before you finally realize when he smiles at me, it's because he's imagining me getting run over by a train.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm not like most union members where I think that management is inherently bad. Because I've had good managers and bad managers. And I was talking to my boss today. We were sitting in her office talking about like upcoming stuff and what's going on, and kind of like we were actually doing kind of like informal employee evaluations of some of our staff, just to make sure we were all on the same page. And she asked me flat out, "Okay, that's all great. How do you feel about still working here? Are you happy? What do you think?" And I told her the thing that I've told everyone my entire life, which is I love my work, but I don't always love my job. And she understood what that meant.
Yeah.
And
that's a very reasonable way to put it. And it makes a lot of sense.
And a lot of people don't get that. They're just like, well, what is that? I don't understand. Like, again, I hate theater, but I like solving problems. I love my work, but there are days where I'm just like, fuck this job and fuck you.
Yeah. I totally understand that. So that's basically the crux of my issue. I could find ways to nickel and dime and add minutes to it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I will say there is one supervisor in particular who caused me a lot of grief at one point, and I had lost all respect for. And then over the past few years, they've really shown me, they actually are putting in a lot that I didn't see. And like maybe they're not the douchebag I thought. They're still a douchebag, but maybe not as bad as I thought they were.
Yeah.
And I've come to a grudging respect for this person. I'm like, you know what? Like, if this weren't my boss, I would even be his friend. Like I understand the conflict of interest. Like, if I didn't work with this guy, I'd probably hang out with him because he does go and now that I see more than I used to, I'm like, oh, this guy does know his shit. So there's a little humility from Uncle Buck for once.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the middle of our episode, which means it's time for...
This episode is brought to you in part by the Ricada News Network. Definitely not fake news.
Well, I got a news story for you, Buck.
Uh-oh.
This news story was published February 16th, 2023. Now, for you and me, this is a rerun. But this is actually not from RNN. This is from NBC News. So RNN was running this news article, 5 years ago.
Should I just go ahead and get mad now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Immunity acquired from a COVID infection. Sorry, my apologies. I made a huge mistake there. Immunity acquired from
I need to change hats. Hold on.
From a China virus infection provides strong, lasting protection against the most severe outcomes of the illness, according to a research published Thursday in The Lancet. Protection experts say that it's on par with what's provided through 2 doses of an mRNA genetic treatment. Infection-acquired immunity cut the risk of hospitalization and death from a China virus reinfection by 88% for at least 10 months, the study found. This is really good news in the sense that protection against severe disease and death after infection is really quite sustained at 10 months, said the senior study author, Dr. Christopher Murray, the director of the Institute for Health Medicine Evaluation at the University of Washington. It goes on and on and on. But the point being that everyone that called me a retard for saying when you get sick from a thing, you won't get sick from that thing again because it's basic human biology, and them going like, no, this is a novel virus. We don't know how it works. Like it's some kind of fucking Andromeda strain. Fucking kill yourselves. I was right. You were wrong. Kill yourselves.
Sometimes you and I don't agree on things, but in this time I agree. My charity towards humanity
has gone at all-time low.
As it stands, there are certain people that I will be very charitable towards. I can stand shoulder to shoulder with people who share different views on me on certain things and be like, you know what?
we can put our differences aside. You and I, for example, I'm Christian, you're atheist. Don't care. We stand
Nope.
shoulder to shoulder to gripe about shit because we're brothers, and that's just what we do.
But I also think we respect each other's beliefs, like as far as religion goes.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we can get as tongue in cheek about it as you want, and be like, "Oh, I respect your right to be wrong," but like,
I don't even know. I wouldn't even say. I don't think you're.
I know,
wrong.
but like I'm saying, like we respect that we have different life experiences and we have
Yeah.
different motivations for the way we see the world, and I get that. And so, even if I disagree with you, and I think like maybe I see something that you don't, or you see something that I don't, like I can respect that you're a mature person who can have an opinion about something, and that we can have mutual respect. But these people that pushed all this COVID nonsense need to absolutely eat a bullet.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, you and I were discussing this on Signal. I think eating a bullet is a little too charitable. So your solution was that everyone should be put on an island. Everyone that pushed the COVID shit should be put on an island and just forced to live under the communist utopia. They should be forced to live in the pod, eat the bugs, F the T, and because I can't say that word on YouTube, and just really reap
what they sow.
Even more than that, they should really be forced to savor the flavor of everything that they have of their own machinations. And I think I've been watching YouTube and those short form videos where they have those metal grinding shredders, you know what I'm talking about, the ones that are slow that can eat an entire car.
Yeah.
And I think that someone should be fed into one of those very, very slowly, feet first, with blood transfusions into their brain, so their brain, they don't bleed out immediately, and so they're forced to experience. And when I say slowly, I mean this should take hours.
Yeah.
And and I think that they should be forced to experience it the entire time.
While I respect your will for revenge, my thought is I want them to live under a communist regime where they live in hell to the point where they long for death. I think as someone who has felt abject despair to the who's been there, who's been right at the end of the rope.
Yes, likewise.
There is nothing worse than the emptiness that you feel walking around with that inside of you, that longing for death. And that's what I want them. I want them to long for death for years. I want them to wish for death every day when they wake up and every night when they go to sleep. I want them to pray to the gods that they don't respect to grant them the sweet release, because life is completely unbearable in every aspect of their existence. And I want them to experience that for a long, long time.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think you and I can come to a compromise on this as people who respect each other's opinions. I think that island should have a population limit, and that as someone, as a new person is introduced into the island, someone who's been there long enough that they're like purgatory,
an elder,
like purgatory, their sins haven't been atoned for, but now it's time for them to pay the ultimate price, which is so then they get to be sacrificed to the chipper shredder of eternity.
So I've got in
a lottery style.
I think I can agree. I think it should be a lottery. I agree, because then it gives you this like false hope that well, maybe I'm going to win. Maybe I'll win and they'll grind me. Maybe I'll win and I can finally be released from this.
Or maybe we grind half of you and then cauterize the wound and then send you back.
Put your ass back out on there. We put you on a new island, the island of half motherfuckers. And you're fucking walking around in your hands just like, I thought the last island sucked. This island's even worse.
And this one, everyone just walks around kicking you with like salt-laced boots or something.
And then when that island gets too full, we put them in the arm grinder, and then they're just we go to the mat island. They're all just laying there, just in the baking sun, just like
it's just Metallica's one.
Ah!
Then you put them in the Matrix and make them go through the entire process again forever.
I know people are kind of over the whole scamdemic hysteria and all that, and I agree, but what really upsets me, I used to. So the reason why you and I can respect one another and we can stand shoulder to shoulder despite disagreeing on different issues
Is we
is
both have
because
big dicks.
that and also I don't believe that you believe the things you believe or you do the things that you do out of contempt or malice for other people. I believe you have the best of intentions, right or wrong. And like that you when you I think that you're trying to put more good in the world than there is bad, than you are bad, right?
Except for certain people. Yeah.
Except for certain people. And I used to have this faith in humanity that is gone now, where I tended to believe that people in general they thought that they were doing good. And I also thought that people could learn. And all of the last 4 years, 5 years has revealed to me that people do not intend good. They do not intend, they do not intend to learn, because that news story, like all of the news stories that, it's just like one after another confirming the conspiracy theorists, as we talked about with Joel a couple weeks ago. And it's buried. It's not news. It's not, they were on the fucking doing press conferences once a day. Oh, we need to wear masks. You need to do this every fucking day. Where's the fucking press conference for this? Hey, by the way, if you got it and you got over it, you're just as protected as if you got this fucking needle in your arm for no reason. All those fucking people that wanted you and I sent to camps because we wouldn't get it, you're a fucking moron. And they're not faced with being wrong. They don't have to apologize. They don't have to admit it. They don't have to accept any new information. In their mind, they were doing good the entire time, and they don't have to ever confront the fact that you and all the whole like, oh, you're Nazis. First they came for the Jews, and I said nothing because I was a Jew, et cetera, and then they came for me. Guess who you fucking are in that poem? You're not the Jews.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of assimilating new data, I'm going to go on record and do this in public. Joel Chaco and I had a cordial disagreement where that or the football player who took the hit, what's his name? And he collapsed on field.
Why the fuck would you ask me that, Buck?
Because I can't remember his name.
Fuck all about sports. I know he was on the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, so and then like the entire nation rallied around him and prayed, and he made this recovery, and he was on TV and all this stuff. And someone came at me on Facebook and was like, "Where's he at?" And I was like, "He's on TV and he's making." And they're like, "No, he's dead, man. He's dead." And I was like, I don't buy that." And so I mentioned it to Joel. I was like, "Get a load of this guy." And Joel's like, "No, I agree with him. I think that guy's dead. I think that's like a CGI deep fake and all this stuff." And I was like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And then since that conversation, I've seen some things. I'm like, oh, he might be right. Joel might be right on that one. I think maybe Chaco was right about everything. So I just wanted to go.
I need that like as an image that I can put on the stream. Chaco is right.
I mean, like credit where credit's due. I love Chaco. He's one of my favorite guys.
Steve Buscemi, like times Chaco is right. Just add another one to it.
Dude, put that up. I would love that. I'm sure he would love it. Or actually, he should put that up.
He should put that up. Yeah.
Or maybe we should all have one behind us, like mandatory. We need to have a mandatory cutesy meeting where we discuss all of us having a chalkboard behind us, not a whiteboard, a chalkboard.
Yeah, just like Glenn Beck.
Where we put how often Chaco was right. I think that would be a great thing.
Days without Chaco being right. 0.
And then you'll put up like the 1, and then Joel or Chaco will post something, and you'll be like, oh, never mind. It just falls off immediately. Never mind.
I've got a news story here from Dad Cucks, RNN correspondent. So this is back on RNN. This is real news.
Definitely not fake news.
Now, we talked about how we have big dicks. And speaking of big dicks, the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile falls victim to catalytic converter theft during a Las Vegas stop. The iconic Wienermobile was hit by thieves at some point Thursday night while located in the parking lot of the Sonesta Suites on Paradise Road in Las Vegas. The burglars discovered Friday morning when the crew couldn't get the Wiener on wheels to start ahead of a 10 a.m. appearance in the Warm Springs Road. The 27-foot-long Wienermobile was ultimately towed to Penske Truck Rental, where mechanics installed a temporary catalytic converter. Just install a tube. Just put a tube in there, man.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to know.
Straight pipes. Everyone's going to know my wiener's coming.
Does that happen in your area? Is catalytic converter theft big?
Dude, I am from Statesville, North Carolina. If you still have a catalytic converter in my town, like, people think you're rich.
Yeah. St.
People
Louis
like
is that
this-
way too, because everything's street parking. So they'll wipe out a whole block. They'll come middle of the night and they'll be on one of those creeper dollies and they'll just creeper dolly underneath, through, pull, and just fucking haul them
Gone.
all out. Yeah.
And
That's
like,
why
you
I park in
know,
a garage.
yeah. So, and like, you'll know every time there's been a new wave of them around here because you'll hear everybody.
First thing
like
in the morning.
Like, I'm used to a couple of noises that intrude upon my inside my house life, right? Like, when the guys come to pick up the trash on Wednesday mornings, I'll hear that at 4:30 in the morning. I hear that when my Mexican neighbors decide that everyone else in the neighborhood also needs to listen to mariachi at 11 o'clock at night. I hear that inside my house. And then when someone either like gets their catalytic converter stolen, I hear
Well,
for
so
4 miles.
with older cars, it's really not that big of a deal. The flow stays more or less the same, but with newer cars, they have sensors in the exhaust system to basically make sure that your exhaust is good enough to go out into the air because the EPA said so. And like the Wienermobile here, they just won't start. Or they'll start and cut themselves off, or they'll start and put themselves in limp mode to the point where they're completely worthless.
The Wienermobile got neutered.
The Wienermobile did get neutered. It's fucked, man. The world we live in, where even a Wienermobile, an icon of America, isn't safe from these ne'er-do-wells stealing catalytic converters. You know what would make solve this problem?
Murder?
Specifically of everyone that runs the EPA, if we could go back in time and kill Jimmy Carter, he's on death's door. We're going to have a big celebration when Jimmy Carter dies on this show, by the way.
Okay.
I hope everybody's ready.
I'm down.
We're going to be playing Ding Dong the Witch is Dead. I fucking hate Jimmy Carter so much. But, the EPA, they mandated all these fucking fuel efficiency standards. Now we have fucking catalytic converters getting stolen off our cars so that a bunch of, less than economically viable people that aren't economically viable will go out and fucking who are they selling them to? You got to know. Some guy shows up in your shop. He's like, yeah, here's 12 catalytic converters. Call the fucking police. No.
They're selling to a chop shop or a fence or something.
Yeah.
But man, the EPA, have they ever done anything actually helpful? I mean, from all these regulations, you got to do catalytic converters. You have to have all these sensors on your car. They'll shut down your protection grid if you're not paying attention. They just need to go away.
Yeah, they do.
Well,
that is that's it for
He's a black-faced lawyer.
News Network. I'm calling the police. 2 if you count the cows.
And that takes care of our legal obligations this week, Buck. But it doesn't take care of
replacing my catalytic converter.
And if you want to help Buck replace his catalytic converter, you can visit us at patreon.com/HWIDG, subscribestar.com/HWIDG, or tip.hwidg.com. And on Patreon and Subscribestar, we have 5 tiers. We have the $1 tier, which gets you early access to each week's episode, plus our monthly minisodes. We have our $2 tiers, where we throw the random bits and bobs we do now and again. Tim and I are in talks about doing a special bonus series. We'll see how that turns out.
All right.
We have our $5 tier where we do our monthly bonus episodes. Here's what I do get, where we drop the hate and talk about what's great. We have our $10 tier where you, the fan, submit a film. You vote on what film we watch. We watch and record a feature on the commentary. And then finally, we have our $50 Spite Producer tier, where you get a say in the show. You can demand a special guest. You can ask for like a special segment, extra bits, special bonus content, anything your heart desires that we can fulfill. We will try and do our best to fulfill. And we want to say thank you to all our supporters, be it people who sent us tips like Soberum with Stream Elements, the subscribers on Subscribestar, the subscribers on Patreon, and Without you, we absolutely would not be doing this show anymore. This would have ended at 300 episodes instead of continuing forward as the longest consecutively running podcast on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network. And
I dare say the best.
it is the best. I will say it. I'll say it. Fuck
Yeah.
Dick Masterson. I'm
Yes.
taking a heel turn against Dick. I'm going to show up to, so I'm going to the WATP TDS crossover in April, and I'm only going as a WATPer now. I'm turning against Dick. I'm going to, it hasn't worked for anybody else, but for me, it's going to work.
You know what? For you, it will. I think you should start making Mad Cucks videos just about him.
That's what they were originally, Buck. That was the joke.
Yeah, but I mean, but in earnest this time.
No,
Just
I don't
start
have
bringing.
We're still friends, so, I don't have any problems.
I just know, his whole obsession with Ralph or whatever that guy's name, that loser, is off-putting to me now.
So fucking tired of hearing about that guy.
I get that Dick is infatuated with human train wrecks.
Well,
so
Ralph is definitely one of them.
Yeah. So
if Dick is fascinated by human train wrecks, Ralph is Palestine, Ohio.
Yeah. I thought we were done with the news segment.
Anyway,
All right, so man, come on with your issue. Let's do this thing.
Here's what I don't get: entitlement.
I agree. I don't get it either.
There you go. End of the show.
We're done.
No. So, the theater I work for, we're undergoing a $2 million renovation this summer.
A lot of money.
Well, yeah, we just got approved. It's a little bit over $2 million, but we just got approved for the money last week or the week before. It was like this big relief because the bids came in. Some of them were astronomically higher than the original amount. And they were like, okay, what are we? They come back to me in my department. They're like, all right, what are we cutting out of this? Like, well, we can cut this. That's $60,000. You need to cut $600,000 or $700,000 out of this. It's like, I can also
a lot of money.
I can also cut this. Okay, that's $40,000. We need to cut more out of this. It was like, well, if I cut this big thing, it still has to happen in the future. So then it was this whole process of meetings and trying to just anyway. So we got
kicking the can down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, we got approved for the full scope. And
well done.
So we had to black out 12 weeks of our calendar starting in May through August to say we need all this time to be able to do the thing. And
that's prime theater season though, isn't it?
It's summer season, so it comes and goes.
Gotcha.
We normally have some downtime in that window, but it'll be 3 weeks, maybe a month. So so we blacked out these dates, and then they come back and they're like, yeah, there's no way we can do it in 12 weeks. We need more. And so we finagled some stuff around. We canceled some events, and we said, okay, we can give you 16 weeks. And they said, we might be able to do it in 16 weeks. Everything has to go super perfectly in order to do it in 16 weeks, but we might be able to do it in 16 weeks. So then it was like, okay, well, we'll have to figure out, we might be able to get you 4 more weeks. That'll get you 20 weeks. If you can't get it done in 20 weeks, we got to just cancel the whole thing. So my boss goes to, the 16 weeks ends right before this group loads in. And I've been complaining about them in our Signal group, and I've been complaining about them. I've talked about them, indirectly on the show. I'm not going to name names. But they have the first show of the season after that 16-week block. And so my boss goes to them and says okay, hey, so here's the deal. We've got this renovation coming in. It's going to improve the functionality of the theater considerably. It's going to, everybody has to make concessions because the thing is in theater, your schedule is set years in advance. You have these groups you work with on recurring basis, and you may not know what show they're doing, but and you may not know they're coming in on Monday the 17th, but the third week of February, that's this group's, that's their week, right? The the first 2 weeks of February, that's this other group's couple of weeks, and it changes year to year. So they have the first show of the season, and this other group has the second show of the season, and so on and so forth. And so my theater is subsidized by this corporation, and the same corporation subsidizes this theater group that rents our theater. So it's all like fake money. We charge that theater group rent in the theater, and they get money from the parent corporation to go to us. And so it's just like spreadsheet shuffling.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was told all throughout college and all throughout my entire career in theater is that theater is a collaborative art. Collaborative art means that it's never exactly what any one person imagines it'll be. It's like everyone's kind of imagining they're willing this thing into existence, and we hit like problems with time or problems with budget or problems with the ability of people that we're working with or whatever issues.
So you make it work.
And we all have to compromise. Like, I have this idea for lighting, but this person has this idea for set, and the set will block the lighting. And so you have to like find this middle ground. And what ends up happening is we all kind of find this middle ground that we're all satisfied with as artists. And that's collaboration.
Yeah, and it's satisfying.
Yeah. I give a little bit, you give a little bit. We end up somewhere that we can both live. So my boss goes to the parent corporation and says, hey, parent corporation, here's the deal. We have to do this renovation. It has to be this year. We need more time in the space. Would you be willing to subsidize this group in a space that's not ours? Essentially a space that will charge you what they're owed. Because we kind of fudge the numbers, because we're all one big happy family.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And the parent corporation says, yeah, we got to get all this stuff done. We understand. We'll foot the bill wherever they go. Don't worry about it. So my boss goes to the rental group and she says, I have great news. We might have to push your dates back. We'll know more this summer, but parent corporation, they're going to pay for it wherever you want to go. So, you want to go to this venue or that venue. It's all taken care of. And the guy running this group, you know what he says?
No.
He says, okay, we like that idea. When are we going to get our third show in your theater? So now, show number 1 needs to be in another venue. Show numbers 2 and 3, they can be in our venue. But he still wants show 3. Now, I'm not a math major, right? But if they do 3 shows in my theater, 1 show in a small black box, and 1 show in another venue. That's 5 shows.
That's a lot of shows.
That's a lot of shows. And now we're saying, okay, we're taking away 1 of Tab's theater shows, but we're going to put it in another venue. That's still 5.
Right.
Now he's saying, well, we need a 3rd show in Tab's venue. That would be
show number 6.
So, whereas all the other groups that rent our space, totally understanding. We get it. Well, the group that was before them that we just had to push off, that don't get the benefit of the parent corporation paying for wherever they go. They were like, we get it. It makes sense. We'll be better for it next year. We're all going to work together.
It's only 1 year.
You've given us a lot of notice, so we can get it all figured out. Don't worry about it. Very gracious, nice people. We all have to work together to have a better space that we can all work in. But not this other group. This other group, it's like, well, okay, that's fine. We'll go somewhere else, but we still want another space in Tab's theater because we're owed that. Why are you fucking owed that? You aren't owed jack shit. If anything, you should have less fucking shows because you're not good at it. And here's the thing that really pisses me off, Buck. So I've been working in theater. I've been getting paid to work in theater since I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This is year 15 for me. I'll turn 32 this May, and I'll be starting year 16. And half of my life will have been dedicated to this art. It's not a lot. It's not like a big sum, but when you like consider it as a percentage of my life, and if you consider the time prior to that spent not getting paid to do it,
right.
Theater has been my life's work. When I wrote my senior thesis in college, that was my life's work, because it was everything I had ever learned, every trick, every pointer, everything I had learned over the course of my career went into that paper. And I said, this is my life's work. This is everything that I am, everything that I've done. And I've only gotten better. I'm really fucking good at this. Not to be too proud of myself, but I'm very fucking good at this.
Like there's no shame in saying what your skill set is.
Yeah. So early on in the discussions to push their show back or move it to another venue, against my better judgment, because I already do way more fucking work for these people than they deserve, I suggested, what if instead of them hiring outside designers, outside carpenters, outside everything, what if the people at Tab's Theater, Tab, his boss, the ATD, what if we did the show? What if we drew straws? You know, you design the set, Tab does the lights, other person does this and that. We build the show over the summer in the shop, which will not be affected by this renovation, so that on, you know, the final day of the renovation, they walk out the doors and we throw this set together.
Roll it in.
Yeah, we know the space really well. All of us, we know the space, we know the limitations, and we can streamline their tech process because of our knowledge of the space. And my boss pitched that to this person that's wants his sixth show. And he said, absolutely not. The people at Tab's Theater are not allowed to work on our shows. And I found it very offensive. It bothered me. It still bothers me. It bothered me immensely.
It bothers me.
Because whenever they come in with substandard scenic designers, substandard technical directors, substandard lighting designers, it's totally fine for myself and my counterpart to overexert ourselves to make their show happen. But when I offer to just do it to fix the problem, I wasn't like, why don't we design the show and you owe me my standard design fee? It was like, why don't we do the show and we'll do it for free? So we're saving them money. You'll get a fucking A grade, whatever the fuck I do for you, for $0. That's a steal. That's 100% decrease from my normal rates. No, absolutely unacceptable. We will not accept this work. But it's totally fucking fine for me to bend over backwards to make your shit work when your fucking worthless people come in there.
So here's our second proposal is Tab takes this mic stand that Uncle Buck is holding and he shoves it all the way up your pee hole. The whole thing right now.
So like, it's entitlement of so many different levels. Like you feel like you're entitled to the space. You feel like you're entitled to 3 slots in the space, regardless of what's going on. You're entitled to my expertise when it costs you nothing, but when I offer it to you graciously, the answer is fuck no. And so this happened. I found out that like absolutely not on a Tuesday, and so Tuesdays are my days in the hot shop, and I've been really enjoying my time blowing glass. Like blowing glass is like riding a motorcycle. You can't.
It's you do to like get out of your head.
Yeah, you can't. There's so much going on. You cannot let the obtrusive thoughts in, or they'll derail what you're doing. Yeah, and it fucked me up all day. It was the worst fucking day I've had in the shop. I was fucking dropping shit on the ground. Shit wasn't fucking meeting up, and I walked out of there and I felt like shit. I felt like shit going home because like nothing had worked. I put nothing in the box, not even a fucking cylinder. And I was disappointed in myself because I felt like I was growing. I felt like I was doing a good job. And then it took me about a week, and I realized the reason why I had such a bad day was because I never stopped thinking about that. I never stopped thinking about absolutely not. We don't want Tab's help. And it's still like I feel very agitated. I feel agitated in a way that's not related to the show, thinking about the just complete dismissal. And
well, it's it's so you brought in the issue as entitlement, but really I think you should retitle your issue as hubris, because that is that's unmitigated. There's another word I'm looking for. It's essentially on par with unforgivable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. That's not strong enough. That's not mean enough. It's hubris to the point that like it should be punished.
Yeah. That
It's deserving of retribution.
I want them to go to another venue, and I want them to
Kill themselves.
No, I don't want them to kill themselves. I want them to fail. I want them to fail because I believe the only way to learn is failure, be it your own or learning from others, right? You can learn from your failings. You can learn from the failures of others. Success doesn't really teach you anything. Hey, that worked. Neat. Thomas Edison said, I didn't find it that I found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb,
Yeah.
My problem with entitlement is that, so you were talking earlier in the episode about that when you'll spend money on your kids. Your wife spends money on a thing, doesn't bother you. The kids need a thing, it doesn't bother you. But you spend $12 on yourself and you feel bad for it because you're a man. And men we're biologically programmed to be providers. We don't want to take. I don't want to take. I'm not a taker. I want to earn the things that I get, and I would rather give than receive. I want to create a world that's better for me being in it than suck away at the dregs of the earth. And
we attach a lot of our value to leaving a net positive behind.
Yeah, and that goes back to that mutual respect thing, is that regardless of what we believe, you and I are both trying to do the right thing as often as possible. And that's what I've learned, is that a lot of people aren't. A lot of people think that they're owed. We're owed Tabs labor because we rented the theater. We're owed these services from others because we have this name. And I'm frankly fucking tired of it, because you aren't owed shit. Everyone else has to earn their keep. And I'm just so tired of the people that there's the whole anti-work Reddit thing that's going around of people complaining about having to go do a job and that we need universal basic income because you can't fucking put aside your autism. I'm autistic as shit. Do you know how many fucking stumbling blocks I hit early on in my career that if I could just communicate to myself back in time, hey, you shouldn't be fucking a weirdo. You need to talk and smile at people. My career would be a lot better off than it is now if I had known those things then. But you can't be taught that in a classroom.
No.
I just had to fail a bunch of times until I figured out, people don't like someone who's dour and an asshole all the time. They think it's charming and witty when you come out once in a while. But when you smile at someone, I was in a Quick Trip today, and I did a thing I never fucking do. A guy walked into the Quick Trip, and he's got a beanie on, and the beanie has the Local 6 bug on it. And I was like, Local 6? I want to get in with Local 6. I want to do stagehand work in the city that I live in now. But the easiest way into a local is to know someone. I don't know anybody yet. I thought eventually someone would show up to my theater that's Local 6, and I could
schmooze.
Hey. But this guy walks in, I buy my stuff, I turn around, and I go, "Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry to bother you. I noticed your bug. I'd like the information about how to join your call list." And he said, "Can you hold on 1 second?" He paid for his thing. He said, "Let me call you back." He was on an earpiece. And then he said, he asked me some questions. I answered them sufficiently, I guess. And he said, "Let me get your name. I'll call and let people know that I met you. You need to go to this place and tell them who you are." And I was like, there it is. There it is. But when I was asking those questions, I smiled like a human being, not like a fucking weirdo. Not like a fucking weirdo. It's like, "I'm the best stagehand on the face of the planet. You should hire me, please, sir." I smiled and I ingratiated myself. I wouldn't have done that 10 years ago.
Nope.
Because I hadn't learned, because I hadn't failed. And these fucking people can't fail because they're entitled to people propping them up for no good fucking reason. Because if I don't prop them up in exactly the right way, they'll call the parent corporation and tell them that I'm a problem.
Well, you're a problem for them.
Yeah. They'll call the parent corporation and say, that guy's a problem because he expects something of us beyond what we are capable.
Well, they're not going to word it that way, though.
They won't. They won't word it that way. They'll word it a different way. That is not just a condemnation of my professionalism, but a condemnation of my character. And I try to have character that is above reproach. I try to avoid situations that are scandalous. I'm very proud of the fact that my employees show up an hour, 2 hours early for calls. Right? Not to clock in, not to get extra hours. They show up early to just come because I could come here because I'm going from point A to point B. Don't have enough time to go home, so I could go to this other place, but I'd rather come here and chat about this or that. Maybe go to get food nearby with some of the other people that get here early, or I show up with food and we all sit down and eat together. That didn't used to happen. It used to be you showed up right before your call time and you got to work. That was it. But we fostered this community of people that care about one another so that when an employee is having a problem, and a lot of people came to me and they said, hey, this person's having a problem. Someone should reach out. And like, that's community. You can't, no amount of competency in being good at things can build that. You can't demand community. Like you said, the only way to get it is to be, when you work together arm in arm, getting shit done, and you know that these people are going to take care of you.
Well, and it takes intentionality. That's an environment you're talking about. And
yeah.
An environment. So there's a natural environment where people will get together and work, and it's terrible. And then there's an environment where people get together and they say, we're going to do something better.
Yeah.
And we're going to support each other. And it's an intentional thing. God, I sound like I'm sort of a motivational poster. But when everyone works toward the same goal, then
Let me tell you what I'm all about there, Uncle Buck.
But when people work together towards a common goal and they have the same, it's unifying, and then you have that camaraderie that you're trying to talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you're talking about.
But these people are entitled to it. They feel like they should get my goodwill because they're there. We should get your goodwill. We should just be able to suck this community dry because we have the blessing. We got the nod. It's like, no. You don't deserve any of this. You deserve to be defunct. That's what you're entitled to, because that's what you've earned. And somehow you conned everyone else into believing that you should be doing it.
Well, you need a good reality check for them.
That's too true.
I mean, listen, that's something I think I brought in as a do get on a bonus episode years and years ago. It's just a good reality check. Or maybe I think that might have been
like your final issue. Yeah.
When I stopped doing the show the first time. Sometimes a reality check is just this thing's like, oh, like when you're working with faulty data about anything, it inhibits what you're doing. And you're not going to get the maximal result. So when someone has a faulty data set about their abilities, their place on the totem pole or the pecking order, and then it creates problems. Like, obviously one of the problems is they've offended you, and then you are going to be less willing to work with them because of their hubris, and because of their unwillingness to recognize the correct data. So a good reality check, and I think reality checks only come through, as you said, a harsh reality presenting itself in an undeniable fashion. In the case you're talking about, failure.
Yeah,
they need to fall flat on their fucking faces.
I think it's a little bit more than Reacher. Get the fuck out of here. I think it's a little bit more than faulty data, right? Like
I'm being very generous when I
you're
use
being very
euphemisms like that.
generous because I think they know. I think they're unwilling to face the data.
Well, that's a different thing. So that's
And I think that's the hubris is that you're talking, and in my phrasing, that's the entitlement. The entitlement is that we don't have to acknowledge this bad data because the problem will just solve itself. And here's the really truly frustrating part of it is that, so you talked about how does the department change in your issue, we have all these ideas and they get ignored. The way the department changes is that you overturn more than 90% of the staffing in it. And you bring in a bunch of people that don't know the status quo and thus can't perform to the status quo. And that's what's happened in my current situation is that there are 75% of my specific department is I am the oldest of that 75%. Let that sink in. I started this job in June. Our parallel departments are all they're even less than I am too. And the couple of people that are like, oh, we've been here for a while and we're complaining about these things, they go, oh yeah, we've been having these same complaints for 10 years. And I'm just like, how is the problem not getting fixed? And it's like, well, everybody's just kind of acquiesced and given in and let them do their thing. I'm like, that's why this is happening, because you allowed them to run roughshod over everyone, and now they think, oh, we're entitled to you fixing our fucking fuck ups, but we're not willing to take that hand of brotherhood and generosity to work together in a collaborative art. I don't want that. I just want you to come in and rescue us when we fuck it up. And coincidentally, I have scheduled myself in such a way that their next show, I won't be present for most of the setup and execution of.
So what you're saying is you're setting them up to fail.
Not intentionally.
Well, you're doing it in a way. It's not that you're explicitly setting them up to fail, but you're creating an environment where their likelihood of failure is increased to some degree by you not being there.
Yeah. I cleared it out a little while ago. And was like, I've got these offers to do other shows. I'd like to go do them because I like to be creatively fulfilled in my life. And I also like to take these vacations. And as such, I'm looking at the calendar. I'm like, man, I'm gone for all this fucking prep work for your show. And then I show back up when your show opens. So good luck with that shit, you fucks.
Yeah. No, I think that's another example of problem solving. Well done.
I'll leave it there. That's my
well
issue
done.
Entitlement. And that's been Here's What I Don't Get. I'm Tab Burt.
I'm Uncle Buck.
Catch you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
If you want to call into the Here's What I Don't Get hotline, call us at 704-750-9434 and tell us what you don't get. Or you can visit us in Discord under voicemail upload. And I would just also like to say, while Buck is here on the show, because he does not get enough accolades, that is a banging theme song. Everybody always dances to it during the, if you watch the YouTube video, you'll see us all kind of bobbing back and forth while it's playing.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, but I cannot take 100% credit for how catchy that is. The horns.
Yeah.
The horns. The horns make it. I thought about re-recording the intro because I have better gear and I have, I can do better at recording. I was like, I'm never going to get those horns done like that again. Like that's never going to happen. I don't even think Joel knows that guy anymore. And even if they do, like, I'm not sure that guy didn't write him off. So
hold on. I know a really good horn player.
Well, the thing is, the guy that did those horns is like a world-class orchestral composer. So, like we got a free miracle that this catchy theme song. I will say I had a lot of fun. We didn't have the horns, obviously, but I had a lot of fun when we went to Atlanta. We played the theme song live on stage.
Yeah.
That was I wish you could have been there.
Yeah, me too.
We played Nick Rekieta's theme song with him standing there on stage. That was fun. I don't know, just did a lot of weird stuff.
Well,
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, go ahead.
So sometimes when I'm at church and I play guitar there, and we're in between songs or someone's fiddling with this or we're having this problem, I'll kind of go over off to the side and I'll go dee 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 dee, and everyone's like, that sounds so familiar. What is that? I'm like, no, you don't know that. God, I hope you don't know that.
It's the
So anyway,
theme.
maybe that's it.
It sounds pretty close to the King of the Hill theme.
I can see that. That I didn't draw inspiration from that. I was noodling around with like something. I don't. I was like, what came first was the beep 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 beep, and the shape, the chord shape of that little lead was new and novel to me, and I was playing around with it. And then I was like, oh, that would be like a cool kind of ska kind of thing. And then the next thing I know, there's a podcast, and just kind of.
Next thing you know, we're at 326 episodes.
And we're the longest consecutively running and consecutively good podcast on the See You Next Tuesday network.
A day is going to come. It'll take several years, but a day will come when we surpass the Dick Show as just the longest running.
And
I will that day when that episode posts, I will I will do nothing but harass Dick via text message all day. All day we'll just be like, oh, what are you at? What are you at? 534 episodes? We just post 535, you fuck. And I'll just be like, ah, fuck you. What's biggest problem at now? Oh, no one gives a fuck.
How many cats has Vito jerked off with a kid? I have noticed an upsurge, and you've noticed this as well, like on Reddit or the Facebook Dick Show group. The little "here's why I don't get" references have increased lately. I think that's our listeners proselytizing. So I think our little "here's why I don't get" evangelists have been very, very good.
Yeah. Someone was asking the other day about Mad Cucks, like on Facebook, on Discord.
Yeah, I sent you that.
And that's why Mad Cucks retired gracefully. Everyone's like, man, remember Mad Cucks? That was pretty great. As opposed to being like, remember Stereos? Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Remember Uncle Buck? Oh God, he's back. Yeah. What the hell's that all about?
Remember Joe Taco? Joe Taco is right. Let's change this board back to 0.
Yeah.
Here's our first voicemail this week.
Let's do it.
Here's what I do get.
Oh.
The latest voicemail trend of dramatic readings of classic literature. Man, that gets me every time. The only thing it needs is like some classic music behind it. Like that one song, I'm not sure what it's called. That's what it's called. Be perfect behind it. Really brings the class of the show up.
What is that?
Look it up in post.
Yeah, I'll look it up in post.
Drop a voiceover right here. Hey, by the way, guys, I looked it up. It was.
No, I don't have to do that on your guys' episodes because you fuck it up.
That was a lot of fun, though.
So there's now a secret Discord channel where I have the descriptions of things so that you guys can't fuck it up the next time I'm not here.
Oh, you entirely underestimate my ability to not do my homework. But I will give you kudos because me and Joel the whole time were like, Tab's never going to do it.
Oh, I realized. No, the funny thing was when I was editing that episode, I was like halfway through the first issue, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to record some stingers on this shit. And then you get to the Patreon read, and they're like, oh yeah, Tab, you fucking insert something in here. He won't do it. Fuck that guy. I was like, you sons of bitches.
Did you leave those in, or did you just let us look like idiots?
cut down a little bit of it. I think I cut out where you said that tab won't do it.
You should have left it in just to make me look like more of a joke. That would be the
I-
joke.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it that though. I figured if
you
people
missed
watch,
it.
that's why you got to watch it live. Watch it on YouTube. It's unedited.
Yeah,
Here's
those are half
another
the fun.
Denise, this is Kay. I just wanted to tell you, I'm out of bird seed, the pine seed, so I need some. So I guess maybe we can wait till tomorrow to get it. But I just wanted you to know I'm out of bird seed. All right, bye.
Well, I guess we better get right on that. Everyone go to the Patreon right now. What'd she say her name was?
Denise, this is Kay.
All right, Kay needs birdseed. So obviously
on.
her message didn't.
Denise, this is Kay.
Yeah, Kate.
Probably just K.
Yeah,
Kay. That's a name.
yeah. She needs birdseed.
Listen, man, I'm just saying. Obviously, Denise did not get the message.
That
Someone was accidentally unprofessional with their calling the wrong number. I think it's up to the patrons to get her the birdseed that she needs.
Yeah.
We'll see to it that she gets
unfortunately,
it.
there's no phone number on that, so her birds are dead.
her birds have been condemned. It's a dead bird walking.
Those birds were felt entitled to birdseed anyway, so fuck them.
Yeah, fuck birds.
Here's what I don't get. People who apparently think that if Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever the hell doesn't show the right address on there, that the address doesn't exist. Like, I know Google Maps and Apple Maps are a lot better than they used to be, but still, there's been plenty of times where somebody's to, for example, West 12th, and it's put the address East 12th, and then in our case, we have customers with geology. So we call up the customer, and these people will say, hey, your address doesn't exist. The customer will say, no, it does. I'm standing right here. I don't know what. Are you over by such and such? No. By the high school? Well, high school's on this 12. You need to get the other side. Like, no, I don't. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, the customer knows where they're standing. The customer knows where the address. But, I don't know. People apparently can't think unless the smartphone thinks for you. It just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
So, I used to work at this. I worked at this. It was a Jupiter jump place. You know, you go inside. It was like inside Jupiter jumps. You book a party, like a birthday party, and you jump
Sure.
around.
Yeah. A trampoline park.
Yeah, but these were, you know, it was like, so we had like a big slide. We had a jousting arena where you could like fight your
that's
friend
cool.
on a pod. There was an obstacle course, and there was one more. It might have just been like a plain jumping area, but so we were at like, I don't remember the exact address, but we were on 61st Street, which is also called Albany so 61st Street in Tulsa meets Albany in Broken Arrow, but it's the same street, right?
Gotcha.
So we're between 129th and 145th. The address was like 136 something Albany Street, and for whatever reason, Google Maps had the address in the wrong spot when you maps to it. And we got calls all the time. Yeah, I'm trying to find the Jupiter jump place. I'm at the Walmart on 71st and 145th. I'm going to go, yeah, Google Maps has us in the wrong spot. We're on 61st between 129th and 145th. Very simple. If you live in Tulsa, you know exactly where I'm talking about. And they would go like, well, but Google Maps took me over here. Google Maps is wrong.
Yeah.
And then they would argue on the phone. It's like, okay, I understand you're not in the right spot. I understand your Google Maps took you there. You're not stupid. But you need to fucking listen and follow the directions I'm giving you. And they wouldn't do it. And they'd just be like, well, have fun at your fucking Jupiter jump party inside the Walmart, you dumb bitch. Click.
It's like someone feels too entitled to admit that Google Maps was wrong. They're entitled to Jupiter Jump to be where they are instead of going to where Jupiter Jump is.
Yeah. Oh man, it was the same conversation over and over and over again. It was just like, yes, I know, it's in the wrong spot. Here's the last one.
Hey, so I am from the USA and from Canada.
Okay, you can only be one or the other, right? You're either
I was gonna
born
say, how unfortunate.
in the
So it's like-
USA or you were born in Canada.
That's kind of like, do you remember when you were living in North Carolina? Did you ever go to Carowinds?
I don't think so.
Carowinds is a theme park that's right on the border of North and South Carolina,
Yeah.
and there's a brick line that bifurcates the park, and it's literally you can straddle the state line. I think this person was like born on straddling. Her mom was straddling the border and plopped her out right there,
Plopped her out. Yeah.
right on the border of U.S. Like with the security guards, or maybe it was in the woods. I don't know.
See, that's the biggest adjustment of moving to St. Louis is that, like, I'll just drive into another state for shit. Tulsa was not. It's not centrally located like Oklahoma City, but we're an hour from the border.
Right.
At least, and so I would go to Arkansas sometimes, but it would be like I'm out doing a thing. I'm driving, this distance, and then I cross into Arkansas or
Pop over to
Kansas.
Fort Smith. Yeah.
Yeah. And here it's just like, oh, I'm gonna go to Illinois for the afternoon.
Later.
It feels weird to me. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I called a little late. I am doing a YouTube video, and I was wondering if, for proof, if this is non-toxic. So if you could call this number back, and not really, I just want to know if it's non-toxic. It says this, but it stained my whole bed because my cousin was doing a project, and we had to buy a new bed. It went through the whole entire bed and even through the floor. So, yeah, bye-bye.
So that sounds like another one of those accidental numbers. Send that girl some birdseed.
Again, unknown number. No idea who it was.
I like this turn of us just randomly getting. It started with me.
Yeah.
Do we ever get our check from Colonial for that story I made up?
Oh, you know what? They sent us a check, but it bounced because apparently they went out of business. They said that there were the customer service people were so unprofessional that they weren't able to keep enough customers and they went under.
Well, there goes my $30,000 I was banking on. So
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So I guess we'll have to keep doing the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Patreon.com/HWIDG.
Fucking hate coming here and talking to you every couple of weeks. It really sucks.
I fucking hate this
What-
guy so
what a
much. He comes in here with
douchebag.
This fucking stupid bullshit
fucking-
stuff. Oh, my job is so hard. Fuck me.
Fucking theater faggot cunt.
Oh, this
Anyway.
I gotta put these fucking bullshit food in a box or some shit. I gotta go to these meetings.
Yeah. I love how now there's a conspiracy. I shouldn't say this. There is a conspiracy theory that affects it is directly related to my employment.
Yeah.
And I can 100% tell you it's not true, even though I kind of wish it was. So
Now I'm enticed.
because I think we might have talked about it in the Signal group, and I can talk to you about it after.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
I think I remember you talking about it in the Signal group. So
I was like, that would be hilarious if it were true, and I would love to know that it were true, but I would know because I would see the evidence of it, and so like it would, for that to be happening, it would have to be like certain people would have to be involved for that to happen, and I am in the chain of those people that would have to be involved.
and you haven't fucked enough kids, so you haven't been looped in.
Maybe that's it.
That's definitely it.
I guess I better get busy.
I don't think you should, Buck.
I can be a part of this cool conspiracy.
HWG has a very strict no pedophiles policy on our show.
Thank you. I'm glad. I will say that that conspiracy was taken very seriously, and like
by
there
your
were
office, by the people you work with, or by like the internet.
the entire corporation.
Oh,
Like there were internal meetings about like I can't say a whole lot, but I can say that it was taken very seriously, and like we are not allowed to talk to the press. We were explicitly told this. Like if people show up outside of work picketing, like don't go outside, do not engage in violence. And I was like, we have a tower. We got like the perfect vantage point for
picking those motherfuckers off.
I'm just saying, like throw eggs at them because apparently we have them. So
Throw someone up in that tower, but not Lee Harvey, because like that guy can't fucking hit the broadside of a barn.
I'm going to leave that one alone. But yeah, so I think it's kind of funny that like I don't know, when there's like this national conversation about something that you're intimately involved and knowledgeable of, and you're like, oh, well, that's kind of not happening. You're like, and then you're like,
Where is it?
you know that so many conspiracies are right, and so you're like, but not this one. And then everyone's like, oh, you're a shill. You're a shill. Like I'm kind of not. Like you see the hat I wear. Like I just like kind of barking up the wrong tree on this one, unfortunately. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Anyway,
So that's
Catch you guys next
all I have to
week.
say on that before I get fired.
Here we go.